Hello, YouTube Nation. This is Mr. Bone 66 Crush. I have quite a few videos up here on my YouTube channel. Most of them are music clips. Most of them are what you would call heavy metal music clips or hard rock music clips. So I thought I would actually kind of tell you guys the whole entire story on how I got into heavy metal music. It's quite an amusing story, so I'm going to go get right on into it. Uh, Whenever I was in sixth grade, we had a music teacher, and part of our music curriculum that we had for one full week was music appreciation of other people's interest in music. Okay, meaning you could bring a record of yours in and actually have people listen to a couple songs off that record that you liked. So we had our music teacher come in, and she had the Dan Fogelberg, leader of the band song, and that's one thing she led it off with. And we had everybody else, so we kind of went alphabetically ordered. So what happened was uh, I was kind of like right in the first of the deal because my name was, had a C in it. Uh, I bought into Beach Boys, and I was kind of a big Beach Boys fan. I still kind of am today. And I thought I was actually pretty cool with the Beach Boys. I'm going to sit at the big kids table. I got this Beach Boys record, so I played it, and everybody kind of liked it. And everybody else had their other stuff that they liked, and it was going pretty well. And this is when all hell broke loose. We had this young girl in our class. Her name was Renee Schulte. She bought in this album, and it was looked nondescript. It was AC/DC, Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap was the album. I know because, but anyway, she gets this record out. She puts it on the record player, and all of a sudden you hear this really kind of cool bluesy thing, doom, 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 doom. And I'm like, okay, this is interesting stuff. Then all of a sudden you hear this gentleman, his name's Bon Scott. He starts singing this song. It's called Big Balls. And it was just something that just made my mind just go poof. I was just like, holy hell. This is the most salacious thing I have ever heard in my life. Big balls, wow. And it just kept going on. I got big balls, and she's got big balls, but I got the biggest, the song. And I turned around and I looked at everybody, and they had this ghastly, awe-struck look like they just heard the most. Oh, this was not what you're supposed to be. This is not what we had in mind for music appreciation. And I'm thinking to myself on the inside, wow, there's something about this kind of music that's just getting this reaction from these kids. And for some ungodly reason, I loved it. I'm just like, wow, this is interesting. So I asked the girl, I said, what is this? And she goes, AC/DC. So I'm like, oh, okay. So I didn't have really too much way of actually getting metal records at the time. So I kind of had to just kind of grin and bear it. So fast forward a year, I'm up in Minnesota. And a friend of mine that I seen every time I was up there by the name of Tony Castle always had these cassette tapes that he would bring with him from these heavy metal stations up there in Minneapolis. Started this year was the first year he did it. So he started playing these heavy metal tapes, and I was like, wow, this stuff is actually really good. It's loud, it's kind of bangy, So right then and there, that's a second reinforcement of wow, I kind of like this. So he had this one song that he played, and it was Nather's Hair of the Dog, Now you're dancing with a son of, you know that song. No, I don't have to get into it anymore, So, and I'm like, wow, another one that's just kind of like, using a little bit of the cuss word. I'm like, wow, this stuff is actually really kind of catchy, a little bit more over the top musically than what I'm used to. So I'm like, I'm all excited. So I asked him, so he told me about all these other bands. So this was like when I was in seventh grade. So fast forward when I'm in eighth grade, uh, I asked my grandparents that I was living with, could I get some cassettes, some heavy metal cassettes for Christmas because I wanted to actually get my own stuff, you know. I started listening to my own stuff. So I kind of did a little research the best I can, and I found out two of the bigger bands were Iron Maiden and Judas Priest. They still are pretty big bands. In fact, Iron Maiden still does stadiums, but I'll get into that later. Uh, so what I did is I asked my parents if I can buy them, you know, or have them for Christmas, and they had no idea what they were. So they said, "Well, we'll give you the money. You can buy three of them, and then we'll go ahead and wrap them up, and you can open up for Christmas, and you can listen to them." Blah blah blah. Well, okay, the first three cassettes I ever had, ever bought, were Twisted Sister, Stay Hungry, which was kind of a glam metal, somewhat glam metal, I guess you'd call it, you know. Then you had Iron Maiden's Power Slave, good album. Then you had Judas Priest, Defenders of the Faith. So those were the first three bands that I can purposely say that I bought for myself. And all three albums were great. Twisted Sister, Stay Hungry, of course, had I Wanna Rock and, you know, We're Not Gonna Take It. It had The Price on there, which I think is a really good song yet even today, you know. So I had all of these deals, and I'm just like, no, this is definitely the path I want to go on. So I turned the next year, whenever I'm in high school, I had all this stuff, you know, from Hip Freighter that I started reading, and I just kept getting in more and more to it. You know, I got into Metallica because they were big. You know, Motley Crue was big, so I got into Motley. I got into Rat. I got into Scorpions. I got into Dio. I got more into Iron Maiden because they were releasing another album. Judas Priest had another album come out. So all these albums that I started listening to had albums come out. And of course, it just kept snowballing and snowballing. Then I decided, what the hell? I'm going to do I'm just going to go for the jugular. I heard, and I didn't know this at the time, but I opened up these pages of these metal magazines, and they had all these photographs of all these bands I love playing live. I'm just like, whoa, they actually play this stuff live? So I asked around, and, you know, people were saying, oh yeah, these bands actually go out on tour and blah, blah, blah. So it was Thanksgiving night, and it was my junior year of high school, and I asked my grandparents if I could go see a concert. And that night I saw Kiss in concert. And I tell you what, it was a great experience because, you know, you had this band here playing this loud music, you know, with lights and everything. And just right then and there, I was hooked on the live music experience. And I just loved live concerts yet to this day. I mean, I've had years where I went to close to 20 of them, and I must have 300 under my belt. But that was the very first one I went to, and it did not suck. It was good. It had a little bit of pyrotechnics. The lights were great. You know, the band sounded pretty good, you know. And I was like, yeah. And I was all buzzed over that. So that there is kind of the antithesis on how I got into the heavy metal music. So, you know, that's my story, you know. And I just wanted to actually share that with you. And I thank you. And I'm signing off for now. Rock on. Peace out.